maybe it was my desire that I wanted to go, but my family weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I touched earlier a little bit about bringing the change.
Mhm.
So now when I reflect back, I should have involved all three children and my family together. We should have had a family meeting, like not formally, but at least casually. We should have talked through this process. See, I'm planning to go back to India, and these are the things you can expect.
Hi, everyone. Today we have Deva as our guest. So, Deva went to Ireland in 2006, spent quite a few years there before making a decision to move back to India, tried to live in India for about a 1.5 year, and then made again a decision to go back to Ireland. So, really looking forward to the show to learn a lot about the thought process, why Deva wants to move back to India and what went well, what didn't go well, and what's the reason to go back to Ireland, and also his future plans as he got an opportunity to spend again in Ireland. So, looking forward to the show. With that, welcome Deva to the show.
Hi, hi, Avinash. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to share my experience, and I'm so glad that you have such a vision to share people's personal experience and help people to make these decisions of moving back or forth, whichever is right for them. I'm very glad to be part of your program.
No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. So, Deva, if you can share a bit about your background, so why you went to Ireland, and what are the trigger points, the decision points to thinking about moving back to India. I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, back in 2006, I was lucky enough at that point to come to Ireland because, it's not as easy as sounds now. At the click of a button, you could apply visas now and look about countries, everything. Even now, like when you say Ireland, oh, is that one of the countries near UK? Or they'll say, oh, there's a cricket team. That's how they identify this country. But back then, like when I started looking into it, like there wasn't much Google or very limited information. But um, as every normal middle class Indian, I completed my nursing degree and I was looking for options. So one of the best option I had at that time was going to Australia. So I applied for all this process to Australia. At some point, there was some miscommunication, and it was paused. So in the meantime, this opportunity came to go to Ireland. I said, I'll just try this. I really didn't commit. I said, I'll go there, stay there for a couple of years, see how it is. When you're single, you just have the option, and then I had some financial pressure, when you completed your degree and, you're trying to come up in your life. I said, this might help financially and then move somewhere else. So that was the decision back then,
Yeah.
to secure a place and have a social security. That's basic it was. So leaving that part, I had a very good career, still having a good career. I started in a very good hospital, worked there, became a manager, like tasted all these good things. When you're young and passionate, you do all these things and you're mad to prove that, oh, I can do this and all this. When uh, at some point, after, children, family, your priorities and your goals changes. And then I felt like I'm not that much driven. I'm less motivated, and then you're doing all this regular jobs. Your professional and work balance. Basically, I lost it. One is taking over the other. So in work, I started feeling that it is a big burden for me, and I was like, maybe I was a bit over perfectionist. And when you are trying to deliver what you used to deliver and you can't deliver the same now, you feel like you're not up to the mark in your professional side.
Mhm.
But I forgot that my personal life has grown so much and my responsibility in the personal life is so much needed compared to the professional life. So at some point, I felt work as burden where I used to enjoy my work. So then, it is a ripple effect. Then one problem comes, then you're not happy at work. When you come home, you'll not be happy at home. And then you have work lined up at home. You have young children to look after, bring them here, there, and you are needed for them. So that point, that pressure and everything, I started feeling a pause moment, and I don't know if I was going through a low period of time in my life, but maybe I was. I should acknowledge that we tend to go up and down in life. Mood is not always the same. You
Yeah.
could go down, when you are not meeting your professional standards. That may affect. And I didn't realize that. I didn't seek any professional help. So I sat down and I said, like, why am I struggling like this? Why am I running like this? Um, and then by this time, I've bought a home and everything here. So I did a bit of a calculation. Okay, right. If I leave everything here, like because I bought the house in recession time, so it was a very good price, and my mortgage was like very less what I am paying. So, we Indian, we calculate all these things.
Yeah.
And I said, even if I pay mortgage and everything, leave it to rent, I go home, I get decent amount of cash, and then run a business in India, settle down, which will like, a normal life and everything. So that happened around 2018. I was getting into all this planning part and started, I mean, because you have a home at home, all you just have to do is pack your things and move and make other plans. But that part, I did a bit of research, but to be honest, there wasn't enough information available. Like one or two went home, but their cases were different. But I held on to their case history and said I could do this as well, how they managed to do. Now I reflect back and I think that that one particular person I was thinking had only one boy, and he actually was born in India and then came here in his early years, and then going back was easy for him. Like
Mm.
in my case, my children were born here and it's their home, and I'm trying to take them away from home. These are the things like, I went, but we'll go into that. So when I went to India, I did set up a business like in my field. So my plan was to run a clinic, uh, set a knowledge, what I gained here. I want to bring it in India and run a better clinic, and I did set up everything, hired doctors, staff, and everything. But even then, it was working okay. Like when you set up a business in India, and when people know that you're just trying to come back, and I think that a lot of people try to take advantage of it. That is one point uh, I would stress anyone who's trying to move back to India and set up a business. You have to become a local and you have to understand the local market,
Yeah.
and even like certain things like staff, where I've been so used being very staff friendly, like it's not a dictatorship leadership in Western countries, as you know, Avinash. You probably worked in so many of those areas. So but I was trying to bring that similar culture in India. I don't think people were ready for that at that point of a time.
Yeah.
That is before COVID. So um, they thought maybe it's a easy cup of tea. Let me grab it as well. And everybody was just working for the money, not as passionate. And so that point, but still I was making revenue.
Yeah.
It's not that it was looking after its own cost and everything, but I wasn't making profit to come back completely. So in my case, what I did is basically I brought them family home, but I didn't move completely 100% because I
Okay.
was testing the waters to see if everything is okay. Like, will I be able to run smoothly before quitting everything here?
Yeah.
Still, I had some income, everything, but that was my kind of a testing period. And importantly, this is the point I want to really bring across. I mean, this is personal, but I would like to share this personal information because that's where I went wrong. When I'm planning for this move, it was my vision to go back to India because when I started my career back in 2006, I only came here for a few years. I remembered that and I wanted to go back, but I didn't translate this much with my family. Especially, I mean, if you have a spouse and you need them 100 percentage on the same page. Otherwise, this move is not possible and it is not going to be smooth. So we didn't discuss much. I was very, yeah, I did it. We are going to do it. And I thought my children were young and I don't need to tell them. Like my daughter was 8, 9 years old at that time. And I assumed that she will adjust. And my youngest son was like only 3, 4 years, and yeah, he was too young adopting that change. So this is when I went there, I got the admission, school admission, and everything. First thing I did was I found a very good school, but not the right school.
Mm.
I will define what is the
Yes.
good school and the right school. Because the good school in Indian terminology is producing result. So I asked for reviews, especially when you're doing a big move, you ask people which is school and which better school and everything. And they said this school produces 100% result. And there are so many doctors coming out of the school, typical Indian mentality, you know, and this many engineers coming out of it, all this. See, this particular doctor came from this school. So I assumed that is the right school for my children. And how do they produce good results? I didn't inquire into it. So when admission, everything was ready, children were happy going into the school. Day one, my daughter sees a child is being beaten by the teacher. She was shocked.
Mm.
We were so used to this. We knew our culture, so it was okay for us. But for my daughter who was brought up here, and there was only like, as you know, like for up to a certain period age in the school, they'll just pamper them, and there is no much homework, there is no much punishment. It's only even if they are participating, they'll give a medal, right?
Yeah.
That is not Indian culture. And especially the school, what I put them in was trying to make a competition out of the children, trying to bring results. But that is not supposed to be the goal for my children at that point. And the homework amount of homework she got, she couldn't tolerate. It is a very good school. So what I did is immediately I started looking for schools in a better, which has a better culture. So I did find it, but my problem was my daughter got that admission in that school, but my sons they didn't get admission.
Mm.
But in the first school, I got three of them in the same place. So this is another part where it is about to go wrong.
So maybe if it's
So
okay, like I just want to check a few things along the way. I know you
yeah,
kind of covered a lot, so I just want to peel it a little bit more. That gives a little bit of
yeah,
clarity. Maybe before jumping on to the kids, if we can
yeah,
focus on the career plan, right? I mean,
right.
you mentioned, I think you wanted to, test the waters. You're still working in
Yeah,
Ireland and all that stuff. So if you can talk a little bit on that, like, in the sense that for how long you tried that, and then was there a decision that was made, and then you permanently moved, personally, even though family was there. So that
yeah,
could
yeah.
help a little bit of a clarity. So for
Oh,
how long you
absolutely,
tested the water.
absolutely. Thanks
Yeah.
for bringing back to that area, Avinash. As I said, I set up a clinic, which is a diabetic clinic, because I I still see a very huge potential in India. Diabetes is the biggest problem,
Mhm.
and basically, I was trying to reverse the diabetes,
Oh,
not cure. I
yeah,
was trying to reverse because it is a reversible condition. So my plan was establish a clinic, educate people, and make them monitor regular blood sugars. Because the
yeah.
problem where we find is in India that this is a different topic, but I'll just touch base on it. That we are not monitoring, so we don't know when it is going to explode. So I set up all these standards from here, and education was major part of the clinic, and obviously other things working around that. So I had actually special dietitian, special doctors, counselors, and name it. Like I wanted to really bring the same culture from here, so that it will be different in India, where people can really relate, and come out of diabetes, better management of diabetes. So this clinic was set up, but I set it up in my own town, which is Kanyakumari, which is not a big city. But because I have my home there and house set up there, it's easy to look after family and everything. I set it up there. But the point is, then later on, I thought, like, even if I set this business up in a bigger city, revenue wise, I would have been better. But it was running okay.
Yeah.
And so this business I set up, and I was running everything okay so far. And as I wanted to mention, I made the decision to come back in 2019 December,
Just before
and
COVID.
just COVID. I heard COVID,
Yeah.
and I actually started looking into COVID.
Yeah.
But I thought this is going to be another epidemic which will just pass
Yeah.
on, as everybody thinks.
Yeah.
And somebody, some decisions the universal makes. This is one moment in my life I thought that was made by I mean, you name it God, or you could name it anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer of spirituality, not religion, but
Yeah.
spirituality. So there, I was prompted to take that decision. That is because of my son. One morning, I was trying to travel back to Ireland. He normally wouldn't wake up at 5 o'clock. He woke up early morning and he started crying. And that's where I reflected and all. So basically, in that business time, so in 2020 February, I was back in uh, Ireland with
Okay.
my family. I didn't know that in the next 1.5 year, 2 years, it's going to be lockdown.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to, like, that at that point, my clinic was still running remotely, with the promise that I will come back in a month and look after what is to be closed, or to hand it over to somebody, because I already had talks with some other
Sure.
doctors and everyone to take over the business. But when the COVID lockdown came, I had to just close the business, where I was paying 35,000 rent a month. And also, I had 5 staffs at that point, you know. So nearly I was an a lakh plus monthly expense. So I said I'll manage this for 2, 3 months. When this virus is gone, then I'll reopen and give it to somebody. But then nothing happened, and the man was there who I renting was demanding the rent every month. 2, 3 months, the salary, I was fine. But after that, I had to tell the staff, no, I cannot pay you. And I gave half salary. But then you can't be just pouring money into somewhere you don't see anything.
Yeah,
So I had to leave my deposit for that rent because I talked to the rent, when they
landlord.
know that this guy is not in India, just get the rent. That attitude was there. Uh, there was no compromise. I said, I'm not running the business.
Yeah.
Can you half it? Then I will come back. I'm going through such a period. So my owner who was renting out the property basically had no consideration. I was talking over the phones. The situation is like that. I can't fly. I can't make any decision. So would you consider halving the rent until
Yeah.
the business restarts? But he had no consideration, no mercy, as he thinks it's a euro. Let him pay it. So one final day, I said, "You just keep your deposit. I'm done with that." And I closed that business there
Yeah.
in the middle of the COVID. I mean, COVID did affect a lot of people. I mean, this is my share of it.
Sure.
But then that was very clear for me at that point that this is not for me. Let me stay here and do what I was doing, and then resumed everything back in Ireland
So just to
to the
quickly
full speed.
summarize, if I heard you correctly, so the family moved like maybe sometime in 2018, early
Yeah,
on, and then you are still like spending time between both Ireland and India while the clinic is getting set up and everything is good to go.
yeah,
2019 is the last time you were there, thinking that you will come back and then kind of take it from there, and then things
yeah,
happened and moved on. Okay, so that's
yeah,
good. So maybe touching base on the family side, I know you kind of going through the details of
yeah,
the kids. So you put them in the first school, like where all the three kids were able to get the admission,
yeah,
thinking that it might be the good school for them, but it might not be the right school, and so you were look for another. So maybe you can talk through that, like so you mentioned about the elder one who was a little bit, kind of shocked with
yeah.
the situation on the first day. How did the other two kid adjusted? Like, did you make a decision to move the elder one to a different school? Yeah, maybe you can talk through some of the details about the kids adjustment, the family's adjustment with the move.
Yeah, sure, Avinash. I mean, uh, my daughter got the big shock. And, siblings always talk within them. Like, even they don't discuss many things with the parents. But though my younger son is only 2 years, the middle son is 2 years younger than my daughter,
Mhm.
they did share. And he is like a different guy. Like, um, probably he's better adjusted. And but still both felt that this is a bit of a harassment going in. I mean, they took it that extent. I mean, when you are not from that culture, obviously, um, which is a harassment for them, because we had culture shock in a different way when we came to the Western countries, but their culture shock was completely different. And so my daughters literally started crying,
Mm.
and she didn't wanted to go to that school, and she asked me that I'm okay staying here, but if you find a different school. So then I went to a school which was like a park, like all the top people's children study in that school. So you could imagine like it is their focus is if the result comes, but you enjoy the school there. It's a big campus, like it suited everything.
Yeah.
So getting an admission in that school was so difficult because majorly it is given to like top people, and then you should have influence and everything like a typical private school. But I managed to get one admission for my daughter where they promised next year your son or both sons could enter the school once she is in, because I had to drop them in the middle of the other school. So this is I'm trying to get an admission where everything has already started. So which I said, okay, fine. Let me struggle for a year, and then we can put them all in one school. So in that aspect, um, between the two schools dropping, though to add on to looking after children, I had someone to drive my children. I employed somebody to just uh, drive for school, anything, and cooking, even home tuitions. I advertised for teachers to come to home. Uh, so all this I did. But then the problem is when she went into this school as well, there was not big culture change as well. Like, it was maybe they weren't as hard as the other school, but still the punishment idea was the same.
Hmm.
Maybe they won't take a stick and beat, but instead they'll pinch. Though in the outside they call it like grade school, but inside this was happening because I always tried to talk to them as well, like, what's
Yeah.
happening and all. And this is what. And another important thing was, see, in Western countries, not many schools. If you leave a pencil box, it'll be in the same place when you come the next day because nobody will touch it. Like, it's there. Even if you drop a small razor, it's there. But I used to buy the best things for my children, and there is always missing things. Like, I can't blame them because we are brought, some of the children, maybe they just, that's the way they are
Yeah.
framed. So when my daughter brings something, if it is nice, the next day it's gone. Somebody will take it. So she couldn't tolerate it. And my son didn't go to the better school. He got an admission nearby, like, so that, like, I can collect her and him in the pretty much same time dropping. See, in that school, he wouldn't use the toilet.
Hmm.
These may sound a small factor, but it is so important that he only told me after a few months. Every time when he comes back from school, he'll rush to the toilet because he couldn't use that toilet as comfortably he
Yeah.
wants to. And that was something majorly affecting him.
Yeah.
Um, and my youngest son, he was very tender and young. I put him in the kindergarten, though the kindergarten was fancy and everything, but he was missing parents, and whatever he understood here was not the same. And language was a big barrier for him.
Yeah.
Though we used to speak Tamil at home, it is not same as what he was used to the kindergarten in here. So adjusting to language for my elder children, I think they were okay because in the schools, obviously, in most of the schools, children and teachers speak in English, and that was not a problem speaking.
Yeah.
But for him to communicate things was difficult, like especially small little things, and they would not, like, they can understand his accent,
Yeah.
and these all added up, and he was majorly, like, affected.
Hmm.
Um,
The younger one.
so that, yeah, younger one. Um, because I remember going to Christmas, that is 2019 Christmas. I was here working, between shuttling, and I bought him all these nice toys, the Iron Man, like what he liked and everything. That point, he didn't touch that toy.
Hmm.
It might sound very silly, but it actually broke my heart.
Hmm.
He showed his emotion and anger by not touching it, which the normally he loves that particular toy. And it took a couple of days for him to get that toy and play. So all these factors, like,
Yeah.
um, made me to come to a conclusion. Maybe it was my desire that I wanted to go, but my family weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I touched earlier a little bit about bringing the change.
Mhm.
So now when I reflect back, I should have involved all three children and my family together. We should have had a family meeting, like not formally, but at least casually. We should have talked through this process. See, I'm planning to go back to India, and these are the things you can expect. Are you ready? Or do you need time to be ready? Or, would you agree with this process? If I would have spoken this with them before going, maybe they would have anticipated and they would have been prepared. I thought, like, small children, they'll adjust. That is a blindfolded thought, you know. Uh,
No, thanks for being opening and sharing that, right? I mean,
but it sounds that I am advocating more to come back, but not. Yeah, still, my inner heart is longing to go back to India. So, because I would consider me as a financial migrant, I didn't come for anything else. But then my priority changed, and I started feeling comfort, and now it's the point where would you be able to leave your comfort zone? And that's so I think Avinash, you did say about the future plans. Um,
yeah, maybe before
but
jumping onto that, so uh,
yeah,
it sounds like I think kids definitely had a rough time, adjusting to the
yeah,
schools, to the culture there, which played a bigger role for your decision to move back, right?
yeah,
Um, so maybe before reflecting, jumping onto this, if you could have done it again, and or if somebody is thinking about moving to India, is there certain things that you would advise or things for them to consider? I don't know, maybe it's going to the place where they're moving to, or the schools that they decide, or how they even think about the move, the plan. I mean, I'm just using those, I think, just as a way to reflect. I think, as you already kind of mentioned, certainly before,
hmm hmm
if somebody is thinking along those lines, yeah, if this is your expectations, maybe it might not be a good idea. Or if this is the
yeah,
expectations, then maybe you could have planned it a little bit different for a better outcome, for example, or for the
hmm
kids and everyone, and so on. So just curious, any thoughts on that, before we move on to the future plans?
yeah, right. So going back now, if I would have done it now, so I touched a little bit on the part
Yeah,
where children were involved,
yeah,
but definitely uh, you should share the vision to your spouse to I mean, to the dot, precise, clear why you wanted it. Because not everybody's background is the same. So in my case, I'm the only son for my parents,
hmm,
right? So I was considering that as a major factor because um, my parents needed somebody, and they haven't seen much of their grandchildren and all. But my spouse, my wife's family is of three siblings, so she has other siblings to look after her parents, even in her absence. So her presence was not as much as needed as mine. So if that is the case, in different perspective of family when you come from, it's very, very, very important to be very clear in planning and discuss. And not every couple will come into an 100% agreement. There will be points where I want this, or this will wait for another period, or all these things. I think that is very important to go through every little detail and be precise when we can move.
yeah,
A collaborative plan, though you wanted to do it, somebody has to take a lead. That's there. But I think getting involved your spouse is as important as you lead the decision. And also, if we have different perspective on that move planning, I think it would work better as well. because what I may think right could be wrong, and so vice versa. Like you could plan it better because in that change they are involved as well. Their part is very important as well. Say, example, if you're leaving children in India, obviously your wife is going to take care of them, and she would have made friends locally, and she has changed so many things, and now she has to adapt back, find new friends, and adjust with family members. It's so many things are there, so it's better to speak that. And part of my plan, was setting up a business. So I didn't leave where I was. I was just testing the waters. So in that case, it is fine to test waters. But at some point, if you really made a decision, if you had a 100% desire, I think burning the bridge, just leave it, everything.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the points. I think it is quoted in the Think and Grow Rich book. I think Napoleon Hill say, just burn the bridges. You can't. You don't want to come back. If you had that mindset, I think your move will happen anyway, because if your reason why is so important, then I think everything else will revolve towards that reason.
Yeah, sure.
I think that is the part. I think I made a mistake. I still said, if this didn't work out. So my plan was, if so, there was a plan B, and then I went to the plan B. If you had only a plan A, you had no options back. You will stick on to your decision.
Yeah.
So this is something I would tell whoever is thinking of moving back to India. If you had a clear vision, and if you can test water for a little while, but if you have made it, just don't think back.
Yeah. I know it's an important decision, as you said, which requires, the partner, the spouse to be on the same page, the entire family.
Yeah,
I think, you need to think through a little bit and make sure once you make a decision, just commit to it and
yeah.
make sure you see through it. Yeah. Cool. So I know now you're back in Ireland. So things have been going great. Any future plans about settling in Ireland, or just continuing there, or want to give another shot in another country or in India? Just curious.
So definitely not another country, as I think, because now it's a time where my daughter's teen, and their education part is so important. So you need a bit of a stability and a routine, so that you see them growing and coming up in life. Now your desire and goal is parked for a while. It is not thrown, it is not buried, but it is parked there. So my whole plan, and now I started um, advertising this to my family, because now when I want to do it right.
Mhm.
So my whole plan is, when I was on my teens, I left everything and I focused to move out of the country for a better life, to explore things. Maybe I didn't explore much, but what I achieved, I'm grateful for it. So to give my children that independence and to know the world, I'm making a conscious decision with my wife, saying that we will go back once my youngest son is in the college.
Mm.
We'll provide financial support, everything, to enter into their career progression and everything. But there should be a point, because I'll tell you a quick thing. You will all know, and your viewers will know, but it's a reputation. The eagle, they only care their eaglets for a shorter period of time, and they will destroy their nest after a while,
Mm.
so that the eaglets will learn to fly
Yeah.
quicker and fly higher. So I want to hold on to that principle very, very seriously. And there is a point where I want to cut the umbilical cord and say, okay, guys, this is your life, but I'm there remotely as a parent, we both. And I don't want to leave my goal there. Still, I want to come back and run that business in a better way. Probably in a different city. I don't have to stick on to my home city. So now I have few points where I could improvise and where I went wrong and what else to be done. I think taking those learnings, definitely one day I want to be sitting there running that dream. That's, I don't think I will ever give up that dream.
Okay, that's good to
So,
know.
rightly, I mean, the desire is to return to India,
Sure.
but made a pause now.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely. I think the family, the kids is important. And so just to confirm, so I'm guessing with the kids now, after moving back to Ireland, they're happy, they're enjoying their schooling and all that stuff, because that's one
Oh,
of the,
absolutely. They feel home.
yeah.
And I will add this actually, last December and January, we were in India.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they had the best time for the whole life, I would say,
Yeah.
because now they are bit uh, elder and like they can think and they know the difference. And now they know the value of family, grandparents, uncles, aunties, and the culture
Yeah.
and how you're treated here. I think now they started knowing the value of, I mean, the real Indian values.
Hmm.
So they've asked me now, like, can we go back again in 6 months' time, which is a huge progress. Previously, they hated going back, do we have to do this? Now, I think there is a big drive to say, okay, we'll go back for a larger
Yeah.
holidays, and that is a big achievement, I believe. Like now they are understanding it.
Yeah. Very, very,
So
very
India is
important.
India. Always, it is incredible.
Yeah. Cool. Is there any topic that we haven't covered that you wanted to bring up and to the audience?
I think, especially you had more of US returned citizens. And I think there was another Ireland person who returned, I think, in your
Yes.
channel. I'm not sure if there is anyone else. Um, uh, Considering this is very specific to Ireland as well, it is not the same as uh, I think US, probably a little different compared to US because right now there's a huge IT infusion. I mean, there's a job openings hugely. So anyone who's trying to come to Ireland, I think this is the right time because what happened is, and this is going out of the topic, but uh, Google has set up a lot of companies. They bought 3, 4 buildings here and majorly hiring. So the immigration is like huge at the moment. So make use of it. And uh, me and Avinash is there. Like, if anything we didn't cover, like we can touch base. And I think you agree on the same thing, Avinash, that, if there's somebody's looking for help,
Yeah,
we could.
definitely they can reach out. I think what are the information that can be shared, will be shared. But I think the key point also is exploring the world, right? I mean, it's not watching for coming back to India or staying. It's like in somebody's profession, when you spend time abroad, it just opens up your horizon, your perspectives. So definitely, it's always good to spend time in different places, which gives different perspectives. And depending on where you are in the stage of the life, you can make a decision where you want to stay. But to your point, yes, utilize the opportunities and definitely reach out. I think anything that you or I can help, more than happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you touched this right. There is no right or wrong decision. Like, until you test it, you will not know it.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, um, I'm a huge fan of Gaur Gopal Das, and he used to say, like, in a story where he sees four friends going into different routes and coming to different destinations. But that's so important, though. Like, it's not that I was right and I was wrong. It's the experience you get out of it. You hit the nail, actually, Avinash. The experience, what you get out of that journey, that's human life and emotion, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, thank you very much, Deva, for taking the time and being very candid with your journey, right? I mean, again, a lot of people are not open to share something that's not successful. It just takes a lot of bravery and openness to share, and this is valuable. We don't always want to showcase the success stories, for different reasons. Anything,
Yeah, yeah,
as we discussed, things were decided based on certain planning or certain circumstances, and that might not be true, or that might be true. But I just want to really appreciate you being open and willing to share your story. And I'm sure this would be helpful. Somebody who might be thinking about it, these circumstances could be relevant to them or whatnot. So really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your journey with us today.
Thanks, Avinash. Thank you so much once again. And I wish you all the best with your uh, change as well, and whatever you're doing in India. I wish you all the best. And thank you, viewers, for staying with us as well.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi Returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi Return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.